again?
He said he'd make a motion to send it back to the selectmen for approval. And I said I second it.
All in favor? Opposed? Recommendation on passage is approval will be sent to the selectmen. Thank you. I know this wasn't easy. This is certainly an issue based on the amount of comments that we got. It's very important to people. So we certainly appreciate everybody that sent in comments. I know that there's several people in the room who did so. So I certainly appreciate everyone's time and thoughtful responses. Next item of business, new business. We have a site plan review for New England Karting Challenge. James Paulette, this is map R02 lot 003A. This is down on Secaucus Road. This is the existing proposed racetrack for go-karts. I know we have Jim here.
Guys would like, I could explain the things that I'm requesting in a little more detail.
Certainly. I know we have your application. We'll certainly go through it for completeness and then take a look. I know that we'd received
Other letters. With some changes in even that.
I know we just received the map showing the existing property lines of the racetrack. And outline of some of the changes that you're looking to make.
At some point, you're gonna put a sign up there at all for somebody to see? Okay. Well, I just see on your thing, it says no signs. You know, not everybody's from around here.
We are going to do some signs at some point. We'll probably plan on submitting something to the planning board on that, probably this week. Because I know that those have to, any signage has to go before the board, right?
Right.
Okay.
And you got, like I said, on your site plan review, plan here, you got, there's no water, no sewer, then over here you're asking for water and sewer, so.
That was,
That,
well, I don't need to do the water and sewer right yet.
okay.
So, because I still don't even have an approved septic plan or anything.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, if you're gonna
There-
try and put it in the plan, we have to have something in engineering form to show that you're doing it.
And really, the big things that I wanted to really address for the property, as you guys know, it was the former home of Bog Shop Speedway. That really was a big part of the fabric of the community for a really long time, and it generated a lot of drivers. Now, I'm a nationally ranked endurance racer and a driver coach for racing, and I saw that the property had become available, and I need a place to train drivers. And the great thing about this track and this location, it's a great location. Every corner teaches you something a little bit different. But when we purchased the property, there were a couple things that in the site plan review that we needed to address. The first one is the paving. And as you guys can see on the site plan review, we have the request for 3 different places. I believe, are they yellow or red in the plan, in the piece?
Red is the paving.
So we wanted to make a couple of changes to the asphalt, to make a few different variations to the racing course. Also, one of the things that we had to do was, part of our racetrack is within the jurisdiction of the Saco River Corridor Commission. And I got in writing from the commission that they would leave us alone if we paved directly to the line and didn't use what was over there. So we need to start generating income. So that's a big part of why I made that change. And also to one of the added benefits about it is it actually makes that corner much safer. The existing configuration of the track has no runoff. It has basically a big ditch and then a hill and then trees. And I learned the hard way testing my oval cart that there's no runoff and it hurts when you go over the edge. So naturally, I think even though this change was kind of brought to us externally, it's a blessing in disguise because it does make the track safer. And we're going to have kids and kids at heart racing on this track. Having that runoff zone there. And then plus we also have the other two configurations where we're going to be adding the paving that will make it a little more interesting and train drivers a little bit better. The other thing that we had identified was my cart fleet needs a place to stay. So we were requesting the ability to bring in a 40 by 8 foot storage container to house my fleet of Italian racing carts to better serve our drivers. The great thing about that for me is that I can go down to my racetrack, I can pull my carts out, my driver gear and everything, and we can be ready for our day without me having to, because I live in, you guys know where Vassalboro is?
Yep.
I live in Vassalboro, so I'm about 2 hours north of here. So from a logistical standpoint, being able to house my carts at my racetrack really is helpful for me because I can save money, I can save on gas, I can save on logistics and transport expenses. And being able to have my fleet there is really going to be helpful. Now, one of the other things that we wanted to address with the site plan review was being a better neighbor. As you guys know, as some of you may know, for the last 14 years of ownership, there was a motorcycle league that had 2-stroke engines, very loud exhausts, and it was a bone of contention for a lot of people in the town, especially the abutters. One of the things that we did with the help of Mr. Winters was we conducted a sound check on the facility to test the varying decibel levels of go-karts and motorcycles. We found that the go-karts metered out properly in accordance with the light industrial zoning. We found that the motorcycles did not. They were well above that. I believe it was about 90 decibels, Jesse?
Yep.
So they're rated, the property is it 75?
65.
65. The carts metered out, okay, but the bikes did not. So you can see in that application, rather than, we want to take a solutions-oriented approach here. I'm a clean tech entrepreneur. I help develop electric carts. I'm actually an R&D driver for an electric power sports company. We would like to rescind our permit for gasoline motorcycles. And we would like to replace that permit for electric motorcycles. As you guys know, electric motorcycles, they don't make any smoke, they don't make any noise. They're significantly quieter, but they still give riders the ability to learn new skills on my racetrack to develop their racecraft in a way that is not offensive to the abutters around. Now, speaking of the abutters, one of the things that we also wanted to do as a part of this site plan review was create a sound wall on the northwest corner of our property. We have an abutter who has been disproportionately affected by the noise, the smoke, the smells of the previous owner. And as a gesture of goodwill and good faith, I would like to construct I believe it's a 30-foot by 8-foot high sound wall that is going to be both reflective and absorptive in sound quality. So what we'd like to do is we're going to put up some sheets of plywood and we're going to make sure that's right on the edge of our property. So that way any exhaust noise going around turn 3 is reflected back onto us and it doesn't go over to the Kotz family. And we're also going to put an absorptive sound barrier over that as well. One of the great things that they do is they make this absorptive sound material that's frequently used at a lot of racetracks throughout the country. And they put that over their sound barriers to not only reflect, but absorb the sound. The great news about that is that this can drop decibel readings by as much as 30 decibels. when when you go to meter them out. It's important for me to race, and it's important for me to have a racetrack. Racing's in my blood, racing's what I know. But it's also just as important for me to be a good neighbor, for me to be in the environment, to be a good ambassador for the sport. And I don't get to do those things if I have a super loud, obnoxious racetrack, constantly puking out fumes, running at all hours of the night. So, speaking of which, one of the things that we want to do, in fully understanding that there are abutters with vacation homes around us, is we'd like to amend our operating hours to end at 6 PM every day. Our current hours are, I believe it's permitted for Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 6 to 9 PM, and Sunday from 12 to 9 PM. I don't know about any of you guys, but if it's 8:30 at night, and if I'm on my deck, I don't want to hear racing. I mean, I'm a racer. I love the sound of it, but I don't want to hear that if I'm out there trying to cook a burger on my porch. So we want to amend our operating hours to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 12 to 6 PM for open practice or racing. So we want to do that because we feel that people have a right to enjoy their properties. They have the right to have a nice dinner out on their porch without hearing go-karts hoot and holler. So that's why we wanted to amend our operating hours, because it gives us a little more hours, some more steady operating hours, and we're operating during the day.
Motorcycles.
Another thing we'd like to do is add a fence to our property.
So how does this even?
One of our abutters has had some concerns about accessing his property through our property. So we have worked in collaboration where he has moved his chain link fence up about 200 feet, and we no longer have access to that part of the property. And one of the things that we would like to do also is secure our property with a 6-foot-high chain link fence. So that way, everybody's property is secure, everybody knows where they need to be, and everybody can feel safe about knowing that their property is secured and they're knowing who's coming in and who's going. So I think that's, one more thing. A racetrack's got to have food. It's got to have food. But one of the things that actually was really popular about the old race, about the box shop, were the hot dogs. A lot of people, when I was starting to buy the racetrack, they're like, "Are you going to bring the hot dogs back?" And we're talking about hot dogs. Apparently, the red hot dog lunch was what everybody ate at box shop when it operated from 1998 to 2008. It was never permitted for it. So I would like to formally permit our facility to be used for, to allow us to have the privilege of having an external food truck come in for some of our larger events to serve things like hot dogs and, sodas and chips and other foods. This isn't going to be anything that we operate, but we do feel that maybe having somebody come in as a value add is going to be I think that about covers it for the nature of my request. So I'd love to answer any questions that you guys might have for me.
Got a question.
Are you going to have a parking area in this place that you can be on your property?
Yes, we do currently have a parking area in 2 different parts of the property. Would you like me to show them to you? Sure. So our parking area is, you're going to come in here. All of this is going to be pits. So we have the ability to house about 30 teams right here, and we think that's going to be fine for now. I was instructed that we did not need a permit to clear this brush, which is another 0.7 acres. So one of the things that we intend to do is we're going to clear out down to our property line, and we're also going to, grade and shape all of this and create even more parking. So that way we can have more teams and more visitors.
Do you plan on having any overnight stays down there, campers coming in or anything like that?
I would like to, but I know that the property is zoned light industrial, so I don't know if that's going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
If it can't happen, I totally respect that, but I was thinking at a later period, I might try to shoot my shot there.
Well, they had campers go in there before and they used to block the fire lanes and stuff, and that's a good idea. And also they need Stacy permission to do so.
That's correct. And one of the things that with the Stacy family was they were actually, the previous owner was not policing the group.
Yeah.
And they were parking and camping on the Stacy's property.
That's what they did.
So naturally, we want to make an effort to be a good neighbor to Mr. Stacy, which is why he has moved his chain link fence up and why he's moved his chain link gate up and why we would like to secure our property from that side.
So you plan on operating now with porta potties and that type of thing?
We do. We have one porta potty currently. But at some point when one of the things that we're planning on doing is I'm working with an architect to do a full facility modernization. I believe that this track is something special and I want to really put some money into it to make it special. So one of the things that you're probably going to see me for this winter is we'd like to present like a full comprehensive plan for the site to include go-kart storage, a pro shop, water, power, EV charging stations, and bathrooms, which is the number one thing that everybody at a racetrack wants. They all want the ability to wash their hands and use plumbing. And that is something that I mean, it's the only way my wife will come. So like, yes, honey, we'll get some bathrooms. So we're working on it. You guys that plan is probably going to be done around November timeframe. And you guys will probably see be it December, January, as I've lined up money to do it.
When you were talking about cars being electric,
Yeah.
I do have a special time that you do that and then you use the motorized ones on a separate time? How does that work?
We use, the way that we plan on deploying those is we're going to be running gas and electric carts. They're going to be run in different divisions. So the way that typically works at a racetrack is you might have 2 or 3 gas divisions, and then we would run an electric division. But for say for a day for like open practice, we would just say, whatever you got, just go out there. And they would commingle because it's just practice time.
David?
The reason I question you, because I'm right in the soundtrack of the past tracks, and it hasn't been good.
Pardon?
The sound from the,
He lives close to it.
I live off Congress Road, so.
And, the thing that's interesting about the previous owners, I mean, Jesse, you mentioned that they were metering at 120 decibels on one of your buddy's properties, right? Like it was something crazy?
That was the fireworks then.
Oh, it was the fireworks? That'll do it. So, but yeah, we're taking a lot of steps to mitigate noise. And it is I haven't shared this with too many people, but our goal for our facility is to be fully electric by 2030. I mean, I'm a clean tech entrepreneur. I love electric anything. But I also know that you can't force the issue, especially with racers. So the goal really is to use Shredway Maine, which is what we're calling it now, as kind of a development and kind of hotbed for electric vehicle power sports activity.
Okay.
Just a little bit of a,
Harvey, can we get it, hold on. Jesse, what in this application, so I'm hearing a lot from him about like things that we would approve in the future that are not existing here. So,
If anything, if he's talking about future, you got to come back to planning board.
right.
Yeah.
So in terms of the paving and the accessory buildings, those are allowed uses. So I guess I'm just trying to see what we're looking to do here for him.
Paved area, south buffering, all buffered areas, change of his hours of use, vendor a vendor being there. Those are all things I can't approve.
But, that's what.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So how does he have a permit to operate now?
Right.
The existing is a go-kart track.
Okay, that is still, it's still in existence? That was originally approved through the planning board? Are you permitting food trucks in the town when they, or are you leaving that to the planning board?
They do get a vendor's license in particular parts of town, but not like industrial.
Okay, because it says they're prohibited in light industrial on the book.
Right.
Right. In the book, they say it's prohibited in light industrial.
That's right.
So would he need us, or would he need a variance from the Board of Appeals?
I actually think that's an issue in our book, because light industrial is where all our businesses are. Why would you want a food truck there?
That's the question. Before I put our foot in a big pile, that's what I'm asking. Yeah. And what do you expect, or what would your goal be for daily turnout?
My goal for daily turnout, are we talking now or kind of pie in the sky?
Yeah.
Okay, so my goal for daily turnout for year one is I would like to have really 25 racers at each of my races. And generally speaking, because I've been running a racing series for many years now, most people bring an average of 2 people with them. Usually a mom or a dad, and usually one helper. So generally speaking, for that year one, what you'll find is that we're probably gonna have about 75 to 100 people on the property. My goal for next year is I wanna have 2 separate programs, road and oval. And they're gonna run on separate days. I would like each of those programs to have 35 to 40 entries. So generally, you can expect that 2 times a week, we're gonna have about 120 to 150 people on the property. We're always going to leave at least 1 day a week for just practice. Practice days are usually very light. There's usually maybe 5 or 6 people there. But it's a great opportunity for me to go there as the track owner, which never gets old to say, by the way. And it's a great opportunity for me to just go there, mow the lawn, take care of stock checks. And, once all my chores are done, put the helmet on and turn a couple of laps myself.
So my concern for you to be looking out for, or for us in general to look out for, is according to our book, and I think you said the previous food service there was not permitted.
That's correct.
So according to the book, in light industrial, as you pointed out, Jesse, which is silly, you can't have a mobile food vendor for more than 3 days.
Max.
So is it 3 days, like, I can do like 1 day for each, or is it 3 days at a time?
I think 3 days, I would assume 3 days
Not have the
in a
same
week.
something.
But we'd
3
have,
days.
I just glanced at this and just saw this. Again, I've never seen your original permit, so I don't know what the wording is in. And also I would be a little concerned that you have enough restrooms to satisfy state requirements to have food service and have 1 bathroom.
Well, one of the things that we're going to be doing, and I know that this is future,
Yep.
we are going to be installing actual bathrooms. We've identified, we're going to do one of those, in the military, we call them Cadillacs. They were like a white trailer.
I own.
And yeah, and the one that we're sourcing has 4 stalls, 4 urinals, and 6 sinks.
Our new state health inspector for food and restaurants in this area is a tough cookie. So, and a lot of them are younger, so they're going strictly by the books, and I'm pretty sure you would need to have at least 4 bathrooms, the number of people you want there, including food vendors working. Or portable bathrooms you could get away with. And you probably need a portable hand wash sink, which you can buy for next to nothing or rent.
Yeah.
So that's just my, again, without seeing your previous permits, so you don't get yourself in another loop of a mess and you're back in front of us trying to do that. I think, porta potties in the grand scheme of things aren't that expensive that you may want to think about having 4. Or 2 even, or maybe 2 and 1 designated for staff and food workers.
I think that's a great idea, and they really aren't expensive to rent. So I think that's certainly something where I can call Potties R Us up and get at least 1 more there, lickety split.
And again, I haven't seen the previous permit, so I don't know why your hours were what they were.
The only thing that I can figure is that the gentleman who purchased the property from the Stacy family, it was just more of a thing he enjoyed doing. So I think what it was he had those hours just because it's like, hey, I'm gonna get off work and go to the racetrack.
But are they written into your permit, your existing permit?
They are, the hours are written in there.
Desiree, do we have a copy of that permit?
Yes, it's in the cabinet. I forgot to pull it. Did you read it, or do you want it for the next meeting?
I think today, as Aaron said, I'm pretty sure the only thing that I saw, and I guess Jesse, you said the sound walls are part of our jurisdiction. I didn't realize they would be. I thought it would just be the pavement. So the sound-
8 feet tall.
8 feet, anything?
And the one that never got built before.
Okay.
When it was approved through the planning board, it never got done. This was supposed to be done back on the approval.
Okay. So we have to deal with you're here tonight to deal with the sound walls and the pavement.
I'm here tonight to deal with the sound walls, the paving, the storage container, the amending my hours,
Yep.
the approval for the fence, for constructing a fence, and possibly the ability to offer food, which I think is probably something we're going to have to do
I
later.
believe last time I looked it up, it was 1 for 10 on porta potties. There had to be one handicap accessible one, and separate ones for male and female. So I'll have to relook it up, revisit it. So if you're saying there's gonna be, 100 people that come, that's, 2 porta potties you can get.
Oh, the good news is it's a quick phone call.
And the state may require you to have an extra one based on the number of employees you have there.
My current number of employees that I have, not counting the other owners.
Yep.
I have 5 employees.
I'm assuming whatever food truck you go with would have the ability for hand washing. Because if you're just doing hot dogs, you may end up with a very simplistic service.
Yeah.
And if they can't have hand washing, the state's not going to allow them to have a permit to be there, which we can't supersede.
100%.
And those are, again, just comments so that you don't find yourself in a mess and we're back here dealing with it later.
Well, this is the great thing about, going through this process is that I'm learning too. This is the first commercial property I've ever owned. So I'm learning, and I'm happy to, everybody's by and large really dealt in good faith and just been super helpful.
I think it's great to have an activity for younger people around here, and
Yeah.
I'd rather have them racing at your track than leaving burn marks up and down Province Lake Road
Oh, 100%. And we're doing a lot of
night of the week
initiatives to really,
all summer long. But, so is this application complete enough to make these hot?
Yeah, we gotta look through it.
Yeah.
The way it's written up, there's a lot of stuff missing.
Down there on the racetrack at one time too.
there was an approved septic plan, but I believe it's expired. Because I believe it's 2 years, right, guys? Yeah.
But you're not before us for that tonight anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I'll probably, what'll end up happening is I'll probably get that plan rubber stamped, and then I'll present it when I do the full comprehensive infrastructure plan.
What is this, I'm sorry, 1998 permitted for racing still active? Is that what that says? Mm-hmm. Okay,
That's correct, yeah.
sorry. So do you want to go through this and see if it's sufficiently to be accepted for the things that are before us tonight?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to walk down through for completion here, just to make sure we have everything that we need. Name and address of all property owners within 500 feet of the edge of the property line. We do have that. I know those abutters notices went out. Sketch map showing the general location of the site within town. We have.
Comes off the tax map.
Missing that?
We're missing that
Yep. So we just need a tax map for that.
tax map.
Boundaries of all contiguous property under control of the owner. You don't own any other property in that area, correct?
Nope, this is the only property I own in the area.
Copy of the deed to the property. I did see that. Name registration, that's a surveyor, architect, engineer, or similar professional who prepared any plan.
I think that applies.
Not applicable, right?
No, don't have that. No other property. Surveyor needed.
Then do we need F through N for what we're,
I don't think we do. I mean, they have the sketch of the existing property,
right?
but very little of what we're talking about applies to any of this. Do we need a sketch of the buildings or the elevations?
Where you at? Which one?
I,
You done way down there?
It's on the actual map where they're supposed to be. Maybe
How you get in there? Her name's in the present list of the existing streets and right of ways.
5 lights or something.
Streets that has you get into that property. There's no names.
I think we're just talking about pavement and walls, so we're not
Well,
redeveloping the whole property.
No, but still, you have this in here required by this permitting process. It's the permitting process itself.
So I think Alan's right, that we do need a map showing, H.
So you on there too.
I think we need H.
And I, if we're gonna.
I think we need I because that's why it's before us, because of the height.
J.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we would need
If there are
K.
any, there might not even be any. Okay,
Yep.
he's got them written down.
Are there any sewer, water mains, culverts, or drains that are on the property?
Nope.
Is there any wetland?
Nope.
And you're not changing any of the landscape with this, are you?
No, the only thing that we may plan in the more immediate future is just cutting down some brush and overgrowth.
So your new pavement is going on open space anyway, and your storage buildings are in open space?
I'm sorry?
Your pavement that you're adding and your buildings that you want to add for storage are going into existing open space?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any known existing covenants or deed restrictions?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So for my friend in the back, we need B, H, I, J, and K.
Good.
Rest of them are we either have or don't need because they're not applicable.
Would you mind clarifying which ones are not applicable?
E is not applicable.
Right.
G is not applicable. L, M, and N are not applicable.
What about F? That's the only one I don't know.
F is, oh, that's true. We don't have distances. We just have, well,
This is all property lines.
we have, I mean, it's a square lot. So the distances are in the deed.
And we're not he's not changing those.
Right,
So
and it's not-
I didn't think F was applicable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So F is either we have it or it's not applicable. I mean, we have it because it's existing in the deed. It's a square lot. It's not a oddly shaped lot. It's just a square lot. For G.
The second part is you need the surface water drainage. Do you want that, or are you good with it being not applicable still?
Oh, along with existing surface water drainage.
There must be some surface runoff with pavement.
Yeah, we do need G then,
Yeah.
just for the second part of it.
Oh, yeah. To find that out. Question, Aaron.
Yes.
When you have pole lights, and then be showing them in one of the drawings of where the location.
You have pole lights to illuminate the track? Are there floodlights to illuminate the track?
There are 5 floodlights that were installed in the track during its original construction.
Can't really see
You
what.
can note those on your next drawing, just with
yeah.
those, please. Please and thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Actually, you guys might want to go further because he is proposing the shelves. That would be O.
Oh, and we need to have the elevations of the buildings, P.
Keep going down through, please.
So we need O, we need P. There is no proposed driveway or park. Are you proposing the parking with this? I know you talked about clearing that area.
the queue?
Not at this time. That's going to be with the rest of our plan.
Are for washing equipment.
Okay.
And I'm assuming you spray off and wash your carts?
Yeah,
Okay, do you have a cart pad that you do it so that you have a control of drainage of the water?
we use a waterless wash.
Okay.
So we use an Amsoil waterless wash and wax. So we just spray it on the frame. It lifts everything off. We wipe it off and there's no runoff.
Okay. Excellent.
Is there, you're not proposing water supply or wastewater disposal, so that's, so Q is NA, R is NA. Surface water drainage we need because we're getting that above. You said no signs with this one, so T is NA. Exterior, location and type of exterior lighting, we need U. Proposed landscaping and buffering,
Isn't that already part of that?
that's what we have. We have the proposed on that plan, so we have V. Any applicable state applications or permits that have been issued?
No. The only time that we would need them is if we were an amusement karting facility, which is subject to a lot more regulation.
Yep.
We are underwritten and insured by our alliance and our insurer.
X also.
Yep.
See,
Don't need W.
he's gonna build a sound wall.
It said he had a letter from Saco River Board of Commission, if you want to look at that.
It does fall in the Saco corridor zone.
Oh, the top of it, that's right.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I appreciate you keeping us honest. Yeah, so we would, that's what we need for W, just a copy of that letter.
Don't worry, Jim, I'll send you a list.
Okay. I appreciate that.
And then X also.
We need X, schedule of construction, including anticipated beginning and completion dates. And space shall be provided on the plan for signatures.
Oh, so as far as anticipated.
Just for us.
Paving construction?
Correct, so proposed, when you're proposing that it gets started, when you're proposing that it gets completed.
So I can answer that. Contingent upon approval, I was hoping to have somebody here on Friday and they could be in the morning and done in the afternoon.
Given the amount of items that we're needing, this application is going to be,
Table.
we're going to have to table it based on it being incomplete. We'll have to take a vote on that. And then we'll get the list of everything that we're going to need from you. And then we would be able to vote on it in our next regular meeting in September.
But he can operate under his existing permit, correct? Okay. And that existing permit grandfathers him, is this considered an outdoor recreation? So even though it's prohibited in light industrial, that permit will cover him? Okay, I just want to make sure, so we don't have to involve any other board. Are you able to operate your business without this installed pavement?
I'm going to be pretty frank with you guys. I have been bleeding money. And I mean, I've put a lot of money into this place. The paving is really the only thing that I needed because the commission, the Saco River Commission has more or less threatened to litigate and find me out of existence. They told me that if I ran a race using their pavement, that they would fine me $100 a day in perpetuity, and that they would come after my permit with the town.
Still needs the sound barrier walls too. So those were the hardest hit areas when I went down and did the decibel readings. Those particular two corners, because the property lines are so close to the track that it's all open. And when I shoot the decibels, I shoot it from the property line. Well, there was no sound barrier there. So it's the paving and the sound barrier wall that he needs before he can run a race. Now, the paving to get him out of Saco River Corridor's jurisdiction, and the sound walls to get it within our jurisdiction of the decibels.
So if these items were erected and then not approved, and he would have to rip them up, what would happen to him between now and his next meeting? Would you go fine him for being open with those new pavement?
I'd have to. You have to dismantle what was already put together, if you guys didn't approve it.
And I don't want to spend, 20,000 on paving and then have it come back up.
I'm looking for a loophole.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Paving because of the water. Whenever you pave over it, it's impervious area.
Right, non-pervious.
Can we accept this as a conditional?
Well, we could do it, I guess, with the condition.
Aaron, can we accept it conditionally?
He gets this information, additional information back to us for the next meeting.
The majority of this stuff is just paperwork.
Correct.
So if we accepted it conditionally, it would allow him to go forward and get his paving done. and
Or
operate.
give him a temporary authorization.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we could.
We could do that.
condition
Conditional,
On
temporary.
receipt of all these items. Absolutely.
And your respect for your neighbors is that, so I think that's what I would,
Let me ask the CEO a question. If we give him a conditional approval, so he can go ahead and put up his sound walls and his pavement so he can operate
for 60 days.
for
based
60
on
days or
receiving
30
this.
days, is that you as the CEO and also allow Saco River people to be satisfied?
I can't speak for the Saco River Corridor.
What about you as a CEO?
Me,
Yeah.
I'm not making your guys' decision for you.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, so if we propose and approve a conditional permit for 30 to 60 days based on getting this,
Do
you would honor
it?
that and you would not go fine him.
Right.
Desiree, we're within our rights to do
And
that.
then it goes through here and doesn't get approved.
Right.
You guys are going to be the ones to tell me he's going to tear it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not trying to set you up. We're trying to find a way
We're
for him to
not, we're
operate.
not trying to do that.
Desiree, we're within our grounds of giving him a conditional, because most of this is administrative.
Right. For your approval.
I would say yes, if everything, if the sound buffers meet the ordinance requirements, and you guys are okay with that.
There's no way that pavement's
I can't
gonna-
think of any-
The payments from Saco River is going to cause him a problem, because they're going to find him.
Yeah, but it's not going to affect his ground coverage.
I mean,
No.
You're saying conditional approval of those two things, with the understanding that he's going to get the rest of the information for you for the next meeting, and you're going to continue to move forward and do let's say, a permanent approval
Correct.
Right.
following the proper site plan review
Exactly.
process for the rest of the items.
Yep.
There's a couple of things, you guys. There's a sound wall that should have been done
Yeah.
before that track even opened,
Yep.
Him, or is it the prior owner?
prior owner.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
It was prior owner.
Right.
He's trying to make it right.
Right.
Okay? Prior owner never went through Saco River Corridor and just did it anyway.
Wow.
And then when he brought it to the Saco River Corridor's attention, they came out and said, no, you're in Saco River Corridor. You gotta move your track.
Right.
So this is him moving his track. But I can't approve the buffer wall because it got approved by planning board and went over 18 months without getting done. That's why he's here for that.
Yep.
Track was all.
We got that.
Watershed.
Right.
Hours that he's offering us are a lot more lenient than the hours that were originally on that track.
Right. Right.
More reasonable.
Right.
I think he's working very hard to satisfy the
I think
neighbors.
he is.
Right.
So I have a question, I think Justin maybe can answer. If the sound buffers were in the original approval and they continue to operate,
Under that permit.
would that get rid of the 18 months for erecting them, or does? I mean,
Okay. That's why he's here.
right. I know that's-
I think we're within our rights to give him conditional approval.
As long as he meets our conditions, we got to come up with a
Get a word.
rock solid conditional approval.
Do you want to make the motion?
I don't know if I will or not. I'm
Do you want me to
a
make the
bit
motion?
leery
Do
about
you want to make
this.
the motion, Aaron?
I can't.
He can't.
So I'll make the motion and try to be as comprehensive.
Yeah, as detailed as possible.
I make a motion that we give a 60-day conditional approval contingent upon completion of the pavement, up to code, the sound buffers, and the returning of the items that are listed in the letter you will receive from the planning board that we discussed here with you, which are mostly administrative mapping issues. so that you can allow you to operate and start your paving process.
And you sound barrier.
Second it.
And
That
sound
includes the
barrier.
sound barriers and so on.
Okay, so just, and I have a second, open it for discussion. So conditional approval that he is allowed to do those two items and those two items alone
Yep.
within 60 days that he returns before this board with the items requested
That's the third thing, yeah.
to be approved at that point.
Right.
If he is not approved at that point, he would be subject to having to have those items torn down.
Right.
Very closely with the CEO.
Right. But we certainly don't foresee that being a concern. Obviously, it's in your best interest to get all these items. We'll have Desiree get them to you. All right, so,
I have an amendment for that, a motion. That the CEO visits this site weekly during these 60 days, or his assistant. I don't care if it's the CEO or his assistant. They visit it weekly to monitor the process of these items that's in the temporary approval. Can
second,
we ask we can ask the CEO to do that,
oh,
yeah,
before we do that, I need a second.
on the amendment. Any second on the amendment?
Yes.
I second it.
Okay, open to discussion. Are you amenable to that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor of the amendment,
Has to be first, yeah.
all in favor of the amendment to have the CEO or the deputy CEO visit the site on a weekly basis for the next 60 days?
Yes.
All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, so now we're back on the motion for the conditional approval. We have motion, we have a second. All in favor of the conditional approval?
Conditional approval as amended.
As amended, yep. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, so you have your conditional approval. You can start work on those two items. And then we'll work with you for the entire plan that you have in front of us here.
It's a little more lenient than the hours that are already on.
We didn't think.
His proposed hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, his proposed hours are a lot more lenient. I think we'll include those with the
Plan only.
plan. So we'll look at the hours, we'll look at the food truck, we'll look at the accessory structure.
Okay.
So-
That should be amending my hours, because this, we're just going to be racing on Sundays in accordance with the original permit.
Yep.
So when I come back for the comprehensive, like the unveiling of the comprehensive plan, that would be a more prudent time to talk about the hours.
So whereas that was considered as part of this, we can consider that next month or the month after, whichever.
Oh, okay.
Whichever one we
We're still
get you
dealing with
in.
this plan.
But, so we can definitely include that change for you sooner than that larger plan.
I would get these in sooner than later so you can be before us next month so that you're not dragging out your entire plan.
Submission date for September. He has to have documents to us by,
Labor Day and the day after.
Wow.
Jim, if you can just email them to me, that's sufficient for a submission.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse was there. I plowed through this in an afternoon in his office, so I'll get the deliverables done totally. I'll make it a top.
Yep.
Do you guys want to move forward with the hearing and sidewalk?
I think we should wait for that.
I think we should wait for that.
it's up to you guys.
Wait till we get the plan approved.
And actually, I'm sorry, to back up. So you have granted the conditional approval, but you haven't actually appropriated the agenda in place.
That we, under our approval, I thought we voted to table the application.
We'd have to table it.
You want us to vote to table it?
So.
We need to not table it, but we need to deem it incomplete.
Yes, because deeming it incomplete basically stops the clock.
Yep.
The clock kind of doesn't start.
Stops the clock and lets her create her letter.
Yeah,
So I'll make the motion to deem this application incomplete as it stands.
second.
So the 60-day clock starts when you issue my letter?
So.
Nope.
Your 60-day clock has started.
Minutes ago.
Oh, 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, so they voted on that, so your 60-day clock for that has started.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll get the letter to you tomorrow, so there's really no.
Okay.
Timing. And then, because the application's been deemed incomplete, then you have time to get me the other stuff. Of course, like they said, you want to get it sooner than later, but you're not on a time crunch to get it in, but then we'll approve it within so many days.
Okay. All in favor of the motion to deem it incomplete?
Incomplete, I mean.
Unanimous. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I know this process is
You can.
pulling teeth at times.
For me to do it right.
And we appreciate that you're doing it right. I mean, that certainly behooves you to do it so we're
Well, we're
glad we
working
can
with you.
get it figured out.
That's why we're working with you on it.
Next item of business, scheduling a workshop for Wednesday, September 4th. I know Desiree said she cannot be here if we have one. I know we have nothing on our
Nothing's
on our
pressing right
docket
now.
yet. I know that the comprehensive plan is being voted on at the town meeting on the 7th. So obviously that will certainly kick off some ordinance changes that are possible, but,
I'm going to you for the 4th.
The motion that we don't have a workshop on September 4th.
okay.
Second.
All in favor? No workshop? And I will open to public questions. Jeff?
I think the lady first.
Okay.
So this may be kind of an early question, but what about the impact to the road, the Secocas Road itself with 100 participants? It's a dirt road, it's a private road.
Okay.
How, I don't know how the residents that live further down Secocas Road on the river, how they handle plowing or anything like that. I'm not going to be racing by any means, but I wonder when the complaints start coming in from residents that live down there, how will we as a select board handle that? What's the impact to the road? So that's something to think about. I don't actually know right.
Yeah, and we'll certainly consider that in the application. I say we, but this is my final meeting.
That's where.
But the planning board needs to consider that, impacts to the road and things like that. Certainly, getting access down into that property, down a dirt road with 100 potential people twice a week is certainly going to have an impact on a dirt road. So certainly
Then we vote at.
can cross that bridge when we get there, but that's certainly going to be a piece that that needs to be considered.
And my other question is, when complaints start coming in about noise, even though you do a lot of mitigation before, my guess is you have some complaints about it. Is there a way to record exactly what it is your decibel levels are, so we have it written? And that we're not just telling people.
Documented, yeah.
And one of the things we can do also as a further sound mitigation is we can actually, for the go-karts, we can use what's called a Canadian spec exhaust. So the great thing about that is that it actually further reduces the noise and the reverberation. So if we need to amend our rule set to have a more restrictive exhaust, we can certainly do that.
But yeah, and from an enforcement standpoint, that's going to fall to code enforcement to ensure that the decibel levels are within the expectations of the ordinance. So light industrial, 65 decibels, 24 hours a day. And so that's the limitation there. And so if they were outside of that, but yeah, I agree that there would, outside of just writing down the decibels, there certainly should be some other form of recording it. Just cover everybody's bases. Yep. Jeff?
Yeah, back to with the road thing. I don't think Secocas Road has like a homeowners association, like an agreement where everybody keeps in road maintenance. So
Who owns the road?
The campers do have,
Cocos is a town road, correct?
No.
Secocas is a private road.
It is a private road.
Owned by who?
So the cost should be shared with everybody who uses that, not just one person.
We
Okay.
maintain to the salt shed so that we can get our salt and sand in the winter.
Okay.
But otherwise, it is a private road.
Do we know who owns the road?
And do we have a fence ordinance?
There's fencing, yes, there's requirements for fencing.
In our ordinance?
Yes.
So, in E, it's necessary to have a.
Yeah, I thought we should have had E. Right?
Well, it's not that it's not necessary to have a survey. That's just saying that if there was a survey provided, that it needs to have the seal.
I was just curious, because I know if I was gonna put up a fence and have my property surveyed.
We intend to,
I'm just saying. That, you know, if somebody's an applicant saying I'm gonna put up a fence, probably should be advised that you get a survey to make sure.
It was not part of our application. Jeff, I don't think the fence was in the application, I think.
yeah, I did, I mentioned it as an afterthought. If it's something that I need to flesh out further, I'm happy to do that.
That's what brought it to my attention, the fence, and I said, well, it's
Yeah.
E, a survey. You gotta put a fence.
Yeah, from what I gathered, it sounds like this is part A that's, the immediate need, and then, the follow is going to be fencing and potential sewer and other items.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What's your season consist of?
We're talking,
You know, I don't think.
so traditionally, for go-kart racing up here, it operates from May to October. Usually most racetracks open in mid-April, weather permitting, for like. And normally the formal season begins in May and goes until about mid-October. My plan for next year is I'm actually going to have 2 mini seasons. So I'm going to have a small season from May to July. Then I'm going to take 3 weeks off in the middle of the summer so people can schedule their vacations and have a life. And then from August to October, we're going to run another mini season.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sounds reasonable.
Any other questions from the public? Yes.
That Secocas Road is kind of like that turn on the corner. So if you got 100 people leaving at one time,
That's another good.
The one thing that we find is that with the track layout that we have and with the way that racers tend to be.
Just to adjourn.
It's a valid question.
Well, you got enough to do that. I'm leaving.
What usually happens is there are 4 to 6 classes of racing. What you'll find is that people will kind of gradually go out, like, usually if you didn't win or if you didn't get a trophy, usually people win. And they'll file out, 4 or 5 at a time. Any support people will follow with them. And the one thing that you tend to find at the conclusion of a podium ceremony or an award ceremony is that there really aren't a lot of people left. Usually the only people that stick around are the folks that won something. And then it ends up being a much more gradual and orderly egress.
Further questions? Hearing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody.